about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs through the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last.
I don't know if the earth is painted.
That was great sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Blues is in the building. Easy Blues, you are better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, I really, really want you to pay attention right now, because I'm telling you right now that there is a demographic of this world that does not have the voice that they should have, and that is wrong. That is incorrect. We are here today with someone who on many different levels make sure that her voice is not only heard, but she is able to bring the other voices of the others behind her. She stands on the shoulders of giants, and it is an honor and it is a privilege to be able to read her work, listen to her music, and watch her incredible visuals. Put your hands together. For some people will call her the Rock Mommy. Some people will call her a bad, you know what, because we're on Trusted Radio and I can't say that word. On guitar, one of the most fun front people I have seen in a long time. If you don't know about Trashing Violet, that's on you. Do your research. Put your hands together for the incredible Marisa Torrieri Bloom. Did I get the second name correct?
It depends if you're in Italy or America. In America, it's Torrieri. In Italy, it's Torrieri.
Torrieri. I was going for the Sclafani, so I'm going for the, going for the Italian aspect of it. Or I was just going to make something up to cover up for my mess up one way or the other. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for everything you do. You have really become somebody on the scene that is for the scene, and that is a beautiful thing. But you have been on the show before to talk about Rock Mommy.
Yes.
Today, we really want to focus on your journey as a musician. We want to focus on, exactly, because we've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again. There is a really weird dichotomy between front man and front woman. And although some of the best songwriters of all time, Ellie Greenwich, I mean, I can go back and back. Have been female, it is still not necessarily a voice that people listen to. For those who have not seen the Pistols docudrama, Chrissy Hines' story in that really highlights the struggle of the female musician. And now I'm going to shut my mouth and I'm going to let you talk. You are awesome.
So I guess, where do I start? Do I start with growing up in DC around the punk scene there and the riot girl movement?
Definitely.
So like you, I came of age in the 90s, in the late 90s, and I grew up in DC, a suburb of DC. And I had these parents who were super strict. They worked for the government. And I started sneaking out when I was 15, and I started going to shows. And there's something about like hardcore and punk rock. Like I remember like bands like from New York, like Murphy's Law, and then like in DC, like Bad Brains, and obviously Henry Rollins. I didn't get to see the earliest iterations of Black Flag, but them, and then like Kathleen Hanna and the Riot Girl movement, all these things were converging as I was coming of age. And I realized like something about these hardcore shows at the old 930 Club, these punk shows, like spoke to me in a way that like the pop music of the 80s didn't. When I was a tiny girl, like I went to see George Michael in 1988. I loved him, but there was this feeling, there was this like thrill that I got, and it sort of embedded itself in my head. And I did lots of sports in high school. I ran cross country. I was in some honors classes, but I had a hard time focusing. The only thing I could really do well in, the only thing I do well in at all, was poetry. I wrote poetry, and it was my escape, and I was good at it. I got like this, state awards. I became editor of my lit mag, and I didn't want to do anything else but write poetry. And I got a scholarship to college at University of Maryland. And my dad said to me shortly after, like, "Oh, sweetie, like, no one's going to read your poetry. It's a closed market. It's dead. Only poets read other poets." And I was like, "That's not true. Like, all these poets, like, Joy Harjo, like, even there's some, like, Jim Morrison, people read him." They're like, my dad's like, "Oh, sweetie, you're not Jim Morrison." So I was like, fine. So I switched to journalism, and that was great, but it never got out of my head that I wanted to do poetry and that I also loved punk rock music. And so I was in like my dorm room in Elkton Hall, and I remember seeing all these boys sitting around playing guitar, and like the girls were just sitting there watching them. And I'm like, where are the women with the guitars? Like, why are we watching all these dudes like do bong hits and like play their guitars? And then I was like, I need to get myself a boyfriend who plays guitar so I can learn how to play guitar for free. Thank you, Eric Wolf. That's what I did. I got the best guitar player I knew. I got a guitar, and I learned all this advanced jazz theory actually and stuff. And finally I started kind of playing and writing my own music. And that's kind of where my story begins. And I'm still a journalist today. Like, that's where I make most of my money, and I have my blog, but that's kind of how I got into the music part.
Interesting.
Well, it's so interesting because I know that it came out of a place of love that, from your father to you.
Yeah.
And you can look back at so many different, especially coming from, marginalized communities, those stories of love come from a place, from a real place. He wanted you to succeed, so he kind of clipped your wings a little bit.
Yeah.
But, as someone who's, kind of working away and processing through the different familial traumas, how do you reconcile, knowing that, it was a speed bump, but it was also out of love? How do you reconcile that?
I mean, it took years. Like, as many angsty teens, I was like, my dad, it's not fair. It's all about me, me. Like, it's his fault. And all of the problems I have are because of my parents. That was the narrative for a long time in college because I was very self-focused. It honestly took like becoming a parent myself, or even becoming a mature adult who had to work and make money. Like, my parents didn't give me, a ton of money. They paid for my college. They didn't pay for my graduate school that I went to later. They kind of left me on my own. And when I saw how hard it was to just pay bills and have nice things, like, I just really appreciated like all the sacrifices they made for me. And then as a parent myself, like, it just clicked. I was just like, oh my God, like, yeah, my dad didn't let me do poetry, but he wanted to make sure I could support myself. Sorry, that's my Rogue ring light. I don't know why.
Ring light down, ring light down.
But I'm going to be tightening this while I answer that question.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like he really had my best interests at heart. But yeah, like, it took a while to sort of connect the dots there.
It's such a becoming more and more now that people are really talking about and are a lot more open with their experiences. It becomes a much more thematic aspect in almost everybody's life. I remember, my family from jump. You need to have a backup plan. You need to have a backup plan. And look, they were right. I needed to have a backup plan, but I didn't, and I'm here now. So I'm just kind of focusing on that.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's hard. Like, I'm glad I have a plan. I'm glad I got my degree in journalism. I'm glad I also learned to play guitar, and I answered an ad to be a counselor at the Portland-based rock and roll school for girls, Camp for Girls, and that led to a job with New York City Guitar School down the line. I'm glad I decided to take some opera courses in grad school. That's when I, actually learned how to sing. Like, it all kind of collectively feeds into something. And I don't know what you believe in personally. Like, I've heard you talk about this, and I think you believe in this, but I do believe that, I don't want to say things happen for a reason, because obviously you look at Sandy Hook, you look at the shooting in Texas, and to say, oh, everything happens for a reason. Well, like, what the heck reason did that happen for?
Right.
But if you really do like meditate or pray or connect with a higher power in some way, there is a certain serendipity in life. And if you really try to channel the goodness in the world, you end up on the path you're supposed to be on. And that's how I try to live my life.
That is awesome. And this is another time where I'm going to say, those that are driving and listening right now, pull over to the side of the road, take out a pen and write that down. When you get home today, go back to the New Haven Independence Facebook page and rewatch this video just for that part right there. It's so important, of putting that out there, trying to put the best out there for no other reason than just trying to make the day a little bit better for every single scout. And that is such a beautiful thing and a beautiful philosophy. Now, what brought you CT?
That's an
you're a
interesting
riot
story.
girl.
Oh my God. That's where serendipity really comes full circle. Okay. So in the 90s, I went to school and my best friend in college and he's still one of my best friends, Jason DePonte. And it was from Connecticut. He was from Stratford. And he was also best friends with Steve and Johnny Rogers of Mighty Purple. So he brings down these guys. He's like, Marisa, there's, my friends, Mighty Purple. I'm going to get them a gig at this coffee house, Java Heads. And I saw the poster and they were like long hair. And I was like, oh, they're really cute. Like, I'm in. And then we ended up hanging out in my dorm room and getting sorry, Steve, stoned, baked for hours. And I remember Johnny just sat playing guitar in a corner and he's amazing and is such a good guitarist. And Steve and I were talking. I don't even remember what we talked about, but it was just it was a night to remember. So years later, I went to grad school at Northwestern in Chicago. And that's where I taught guitar to make money on the side. And I got my degree, my master's degree in journalism. And I didn't have a plan after school, but all my friends in journalism were like, you've got to leave Chicago. And I was like, but I love Chicago. And they're like, no, New York is where it's at. I was like, I don't know. Should I go back to DC? And they're like, no, you need to be in New York. You need to be in Brooklyn. So I literally moved to Brooklyn without ever having set foot in Brooklyn. And so that was that. And then I met my husband in 2006 and he was he grew up in the Upper East Side, but he was from Wilton, Connecticut. And we would commute back and forth from Stanford to Brooklyn. And I was like, no, we have to live in Brooklyn. And he's like, I don't want to live in Brooklyn. So we fought and fought and fought. And I was like, Connecticut's stupid. Why would I want to go there? And I moved there. And then my band at the time, we were on tour. And one of our tour stops was Cafe 9 in New Haven.
Right.
And I went there and I was like, wait, I love Connecticut. Stanford's okay, but that's Sex in the City with stiletto designer heels. New Haven's the artists, the coffee houses, the people, the culture, the energy there. It was just so infectious. Now we ended up being in Stanford because I had to commute for some jobs to New York, and it was just a really good place to be because I wanted to teach guitar still in Brooklyn on the weekends. And as a journalist, some of the writing jobs I did were in Manhattan, but I got this freelance gig writing for an NBC Universal. And that's when I found out that Steve Rogers was a club owner there. And he was one of my first interviews and I interviewed him about the space. So it was cool. It kind of went full circle. I met him in the 90s. I moved to Connecticut and then I'm interviewing him about, the Space Ballroom, the Space, which now is the Cellar. And then I had babies and now I'm back with my band, Trashing Violet, my all parent punk band. So.
Now
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that is a lot. And
I don't know why.
So
I was that's my full story, but yeah.
Well, and also so serendipitous because I've followed your career with Rock Mommy, and I believe Steve was also the first dad that you featured as well. So it really does come super full circle on every single level. I think it's amazing. It
is amazing on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made EZ Blues is in the building. We got Marisa from Trash and Violet with us on Behind the Brand. Go ahead, Easy.
Well, it's just so interesting, and I love the fact that we're now in the Trashing Violets segment of the story, and you opened it up beautifully. You are really one of the first parent-only punk rock band, and that, first of all, is amazing. Second of all, how do you do that with scheduling? Because, like, man, I don't know.
It's funny, like I coined this moniker a few weeks ago. I don't think the guys in my band like it. I'm like, we're dad bod punk. I think it's clever.
It's
But
dope.
they were like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how they feel later. So so just to be clear, we have 3/4 of us have human children.
Mhm.
Our lead guitarist Anna is a cat mom. So we have 8 kids and like 6 pets between us or something. So it's nuts. Like I put it out there that I wanted to start a band, and I put something on Craigslist like, look, I'm a mom and I can't go on tour right now like the way other bands can go on tour. And so that's where I met Doug, my bass player. And he's like, oh, I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. And I met Nick, my drummer, and he has 4 kids. And he's also a public school teacher. So it's really hard. Like we schedule like weeks in advance, like practices, like on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Cancellations happen all the time. Like they're just something we have to accept. And it's really hard. We have to just one day at a time be forgiving. Like if somebody has a sick kid, practice has to be rescheduled. We can't take more than 1 or 2 gigs a month because we just don't have the bandwidth because our kids do activities. Like, I don't know, like, what's your advice? Like, how do you do it?
Well, the one thing that we do, and again, it's a lot easier because the other 3, you know, they are in relationships and different things like that. But we can map out one single day, and because we have a rehearsal space, we know that we can go through that and knock it out when's needed.
Right.
But I like with even myself and doing, say, the door at the State House and stuff. I have, and my guys are older, so it's easier because I can have a conversation. They can have understanding. I can say, hey, do you want dad to be here for this thing? And they can be like, not really. You're kind of boring. Cool, no problem. I'm gonna go get paid to see a show, you know, or I'm gonna go do this. No, trust me. To my kids, I am one of the most boring human beings.
Wait, how old are your kids again? I forget. You're younger.
I have
same age.
I have twin 12-year-olds. They'll be 13 in August, and then my oldest is 15.
Right.
And
Okay. So
she's amazing.
Different.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different. So I'm able to plan things, and plus with the invention of phones and video, you know, I can change on different things and stuff like that. But yeah, it's crazy.
One of the hard things I think is like I can't show up for other people's gigs as much as I want. Like for example, like Sarah Dunn, I wanted to go to her show. I bought tickets for her show. Sorry about that alert. On Saturday, I had planned to go. A lot of my musician friends were there, but my kid, my older son, he had baseball playoffs. And I woke up that morning during my morning meditation, and it just occurred to me like, this could be his last game if he doesn't win. And he didn't. And it was his last game. And I had to decide at the last minute, like, am I going to show up for my friends who show up for me? Or am I going to show up for my oldest son who I struggled to even have him in the first place. And this is a big deal to him. And you know what? I had to make a really difficult decision. Whereas when I was in my 20s and I didn't have children, I could show up like 2-3 nights a week. I could really be part of the scene. I could feed into the scene as much as I got out of it. Like I had so many friends, but like I see bands that don't have children and they're able to show up more for each other. So I'm hoping that when my kids are teenagers, I'm able to be present. I try to buy as much merch as I can, but it's definitely a challenge. That's probably my biggest challenge.
Well, and don't sell yourself short though, because you do more than just buy merch and stuff like that. You know, you share people's stuff on a regular basis. You know, if they fit into, you know, your blog, you make sure that you write about them. You know, you help them with press releases, which is huge because you have big dumb animals like me that have no idea how to word anything when it comes down to a press release.
Oh, you sell yourself
I can't make it professional.
You are a fantastic writer. So I don't know if anybody's seen your stuff on that mag, but like I've seen your writing and you are a Renaissance man. So.
I appreciate that. But this isn't about me. We're talking about you and trashing about. I know I got you, but that's why we're here. But now, you know, you're practicing, you're putting everything together, and you're starting to engage in the songwriting process.
Yeah.
When engaging the songwriting process, it's a lot you bringing ideas through, or is it a lot like more of an open communication?
Well, when we started out, it was literally like my old songs for my old band, Marisa and the Underage Hotties, S&G. Eggs is an old song. Girls Play Instruments, which is our ska song. Strawberry Shortcake. And I don't know if I can say this on air. It used to be called Sodomy in Texas. It's now called Harmony in Texas.
Right.
And a bunch of covers. So that was it. But then after a couple months, I was like, look, we want to be an originals band. We need to start writing. But again, finding time to write when you only have time for practice once a week is hard. So originally during the pandemic happened. So we had like 4 shows that were really on fire. A 5th, we had 2 in 2019, then 4 in a row in like the first 2 months of 2020. And that gave me time. Like I had been through some intense experiences, and that gave me time to like really work on music. And I wrote this punk song Grip, which is our next single that's coming. We just have to find time to record the backup vocals. And I wrote a couple others, but then Doug, our bass player, he started writing his own bass riffs. And Nick, who is our drummer, and he also plays keys, he started writing piano riffs. And then Anna, our lead guitarist, who is a master guitarist, but she only played covers up until Trashing Violet. She suddenly was like, look, in, the pentatonic in A, I have this lick here. And now I have this 70s one here. And finally we started coming together. So now it's kind of this amalgamation. Like Doug and I come from more of a like punk background. Like we love punk and ska. Like we love Bad Religion. He introduced me to the Interrupters. Like I love Sublime, Gwen Stefani. I love Blondie. He loves, some of the other older punk bands, like you mentioned, like Dropkick Murphys. And I don't know if I'm getting them all right, Doug, but I hope I am. And Nick, he went to school for music, and he comes from more of a jazz background. And Anna just loves like AC/DC and like cock rock and 70s rock. So now it's kind of like this amalgamation of all of that. So yeah, that's how we write.
And that's awesome, man. You can start really tell that. I love seeing bands as they progress and as they grow. And I've been able to see, some of your guys' earlier shows that were leading more towards the cover aspect, and you demanding like this. What I love about you is, as a front person, you demand attention, and you demand it right now. And they either pay attention or they pay attention. I think it's just incredible to do, because, but I think a lot of people start to lose is we are masters of ceremony. When we are the front person, we are the masters of ceremony. And we need to really command the stage, and you're able to do that. Now, from what I'm hearing of your story, this seems to be a personality trait that has been there. But I want to get to know you. I want the audience to know you more on the human level. Has that been more of the fake it to make it aspect that you deal with in the music industry, or has that been ingrained in you?
I have always been a performer. I was told not to perform when I was little. My father was like, you need to do academics. You need to be an intern. I had a very well-connected Republican family. They wanted to meet, they got me an internship for like a congresswoman on Capitol Hill. And it felt wrong. Like I always wanted to be, I always danced. I always sung. When I performed poetry at like in DC in the poetry slam scene, the voice, the vocal delivery is always front and center. I practice an F ton all week, and it's not easy. Like Adrian will probably tell you tonight, there was a show, his DC Spore produced, and doing these hardcore shows, I choose to dress in a way that's provocative because I get hot easily. And I'm like, it's my body, my choice. I think people should wear whatever they want on stage, and people will be like, show your tits and stuff like that. Like I deal with a lot as a front person. It is not easy. And it is not easy because a lot is expected of me. I have to play guitar perfectly. Like I practice when my kids go to school constantly in front of a mirror, not in front of a mirror. Like because I know if I mess up, like I'll be crucified. But it is a natural part of my personality. Like it's who I am. Like, I don't know why I'm nervous on this interview today, but I don't know, usually like talking to people and just getting to know them. Like, I don't know. I just love it so much. I love connecting in that way. but I also love watching good from people. I also love hearing other people's stories.
Well, I think what it is, and again, I'm just speculating, but you have such an incredible ear for other people's stories. And because of the conditioning of society, unfortunately, there is that inherent aspect of a woman's story isn't necessarily as important.
Right. Absolutely.
And I love, because you're like the ultimate punk rock story. You came from a well-connected Republican family, and you're darn the man, save the empire, personality going through. How has it been like to balance that, the family life, who the family needs you to be and who you are? I think that is an interesting.
Well, it's hard. Like, I mean, I don't know if you know, I live in Fairfield, which is a different vibe than New Haven.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really good school system, and it's a lovely way to raise a child. We have a nice, education, and we have nice beaches, but it's really, really hard because sometimes I feel like I'm not the person that I'm expected to be. Like I don't go to a bar and wear designer clothes, or like my music preferences are not like cover bands at the local pub. Like I love a lot of cover bands, and there's a lot of friends I have that are there, but New Haven is kind of where my heart is. So I guess, I don't know, I try to like talk about my band, but also listen to what other people are saying. I try to, when I show up to a kid's event, I don't make it all about me. I try to get to know people and what they're into. And sometimes we'll discover like a common ground. Like I was talking to this baseball dad about his favorite bands, and he's like, "You're from Maryland and you like punk, but oh, do you know this band Clutch?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, duh, of course. I grew up with Clutch. Like they're like the greatest band ever." And then we'll find like this common ground, and they'll realize like, wow, this is something new. Like I thought you were just a baseball mom, but you love this band that I love. So yeah, well, I mean,
it's interesting. It's so interesting because you mentioned Henry Rollins before, and just described reminds me of a Henry Rollins bit where he talks about the way to get peace in the Middle East. I think I froze.
I
freeze.
Are we frozen? The way to get peace in the Middle East. I lost you there. What did you say?
The way to get peace in the Middle East.
In the Middle East is with Ramones records. Hello?
Yeah, no, we hear you perfectly. It's just you get the freeze frame. Okay. So like the audio is great. Yeah, it's just the picture quality. It just stops. The way to get peace in the Middle East is just dropping Ramones records in different parts of the Middle East, and people just walk by and be like, "That sounds familiar, but that doesn't sound like a Ramones song that I know." And then they can go have a conversation, and bond over the Ramones. So the Ramones can save the world.
Speaking of Ramones, have you heard of the Philly all punk mom band, the Ramones?
Never, but that sounds interesting.
They are badass. Google oh, sorry, I said the A word. They are bad biatches. So Google the Ramones. I'm sorry, I'm trying not. There should be a curse jar right here. So
we don't have a curse jar. We just.
Oh my god. I know. I'm so unprepared for
it's okay. I think it's more excitement than you being nervous. I think you just like us as general people. So, that's probably friends. Exactly. So
and
you probably in that
we just got confirmation. Ass is fine.
As long as it's not the F bomb or like
or the B bomb
are awesome.
Or the B bomb.
Henry Rollins is such an interesting. Every time I see him in spoken word, I hear a different story. He is a huge Dionne Warwick fan. Which is random. He's like left in the Antarctica, like he's Antarctic. He's such an enigma. Like I don't know if you've experienced like post Black Flag, post Rollins, but such an inspiring show.
But see that's interesting because I believe personally, from hearing your story, a lot of people can say the same about you. You did not take the path that most traveled. No. You've lived an extremely interesting life. You've taught guitar when you needed to make that extra money. You have lived and hustled every aspect of what it's truly like to be a musician. And I want to give you your flowers for that. I do feel that you kind of undercut yourself a little bit too much. and you've lived the rock star life, and you're doing it with style and grace, and still finding enough time to run half miles. Half marathons. I run to the mailbox, which is my front door. How do you do all that? Like, what was it like living that life?
I don't know. Like, just I have a really insane work ethic. And I believe that I know, like you say I live the rock star life, and it looks that way when I'm on tour. It looks that way when I'm a journalist, like staying up late and covering bands at CBGB's in the 90s when I was an intern for Village Voice. But I actually wake up super early. I'm very disciplined. I always lift weights or meditate, do yoga, run for a half an hour in the morning. And then I start my day. I have a to-do list. I don't, use substances during the day, which is fine if you do, if that's your jam and that makes you productive. But I work really hard. I keep my desk clean. I keep everything in order, and it's not easy. Like I, have been getting very anxious lately because I've been having a high workload and I can't practice as much as I want. But I think meditating for 2 minutes a morning, a minimum, and just praying to the universe is one of my secrets that puts everything in perspective and lets me really take it like 1 minute at a time. And not every day am I prioritizing music. Like sometimes I need to prioritize client work to make money, to pay certain bills for my family. Sometimes your kid gets sick and that needs to be the priority. Sometimes I need to stay up super late when I'd rather be listening to like band or watching TV. Oh yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV. That's my other secret. I limit like screen time as much as possible, and which is kind of terrible, but like right now, like music, I have to be practicing my guitar. If I don't practice like an hour a night, I'm not going to be as good as I want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's so true because, people take a look and they say that, an artist can truly strive when there's phenomenal structure. And that's mainly because a lot what goes on in an artist's brain is pure chaos. They're able to tap into it a lot better.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm kind of a nerd. Like I work really hard. Like I feel like so many people like don't talk about like the work that goes into being decent at everything. They just talk about like the cool stuff. And when you're an independent musician, no one's doing this for you. Like I don't have Gwen Stefani's staff putting my makeup on, doing my hair, managing my childcare. I only have myself. I don't have a tour manager. I don't have someone to carry my equipment. When I was young and cute and like I used to flirt with people to get able to carry my equipment, I don't do that anymore. Like I lift weights so I'm strong enough to carry my amp, to carry my PA. Like no one carries my stuff for me. It is hard work being an independent musician. Most of us
one
have
of the
day
main
jobs.
Well, yeah, no, definitely. And that's one of the reasons why we have this show, to paint that full picture. A lot of people even say, taking out of the independent aspect, you work so hard to get that record contract, but that's when the true work really starts.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to live in that fantasy world, and that's why so many people start bands, want to do bands, want to play music because music is awesome. But there comes that threshold.
Yeah.
There comes that line. Like, how serious do I take this? How far can it go? You have some people that will take it all the way, even though they probably shouldn't. And then you have other people who are kind of like, I'll say the Michael character from The Godfather. Every time I was out, they pulled me back in. And which is kind of my story. I've quit music 1.5 million times, but I'll see you tonight. I'm
so glad you're here. Like for you, the music, the mental health, the serendipity, the connection you have to your community, you need to be doing this.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how much you're paid. And we do other things. Sometimes we hustle for pay, but you can't, once you've had that calling, you do it. And it is heartbreaking because only a few of us are going to make a profit, a really good profit.
Right.
Enough
you
to
want to
live.
know, a lot of us get that moment.
Yeah.
And whether it be when you're on stage and everything just kind of clicks perfectly, or whether it's, getting a text message while you're working the door that your kids just heard your song playing on the local band show.
Yeah.
You have that moment. And when you can string those moments together, it's a beautiful life and it's a beautiful career. What was that first moment like for you?
On WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ BlueZ is in the building. What was that moment like for you, Marisa?
The first moment I'll say, well, first of all, like I see myself as a writer, as a poet first.
Okay.
Like writing the lyrics that were true to myself, like Girls Play Instruments. That's literally a song about how I was expected to be this front person and nobody thought I could actually play guitar. I was told, stick to poetry. That's what you're good at.
Wow.
Don't write songs. And writing about that, writing about love and lust and politics, like women's rights, abortion rights, that sort of thing. I knew I had a message to deliver. And I remember one of the first times I was on stage at the X U-Turn Club in DC. Now, this was a club where a lot of punk bands came through, a lot of dudes. And we got pushed to the end. We got cut off by, like, we were told, okay, you have 4 songs. But once I got there in that club and they were like, everyone was drunk but me, I sat there, I stood and I was like, you know what? This is my moment. I only get 4 songs, but I've got to make them count. And we played our 4 songs and like 100 girls came up to me after. And this was in my early 20s, before like women play guitar. Now Fender just put out, recent statistics that said like at least like 60% of its guitar owners are now women. But back then there were no role models. You went to guitar store and you had a dude teaching guitar. There wasn't like Nita Strauss signature guitar, right? There wasn't anything. There was Jennifer Batten who played for Michael Jackson. There was Nancy Wilson. All these girls came up to me afterwards. They're like, oh my God, we love your band. Thank you for playing. Thank you for singing. Can I buy your record? Can I have your CD? And I was like, oh my God, this is a powerful platform. This is more powerful than a poetry slam. If I can sing my truth, this is a freaking megaphone. This little show, being the only punk band with 2 women in it at the U-Turn Cafe, like, this is what I need to do. Like, no matter what I do for money, I need to keep singing. I need to be a front person. I need to be a poet. And that's why I returned to Trashing Violet after having my second child, after I finished nursing for 3 years straight. Even though it was a new scene. I didn't know New Haven. I didn't know Connecticut. Like, some of you people in the scene have known people like your whole life. You've known the same club owners. You have connections like up the wazoo. I can help you get, I need to do this. I need to make friends and I need to be that voice. So yeah, that moment was kind of pivotal and it kind of launched the trajectory of my life from DC to Connecticut.
It's such a beautiful story and it's so amazing. Like, I'm in awe. Like, I'm absolutely in awe of that moment because it's just wow. Because I look at it now and you look at just how interesting the mainstream market and how saturated it has become. And how kind of exploitative it has become and different things like that. But now you have like, Taylor Swift, who went back and rewrote, 97% of her stuff. And she plays guitar on it and she does everything, she's dealing with the production aspect of it. And this isn't anything new, Because again, I mentioned Ellie Greenwich. Ellie Greenwich is one of the best songwriters of all time, has more, I think, hits than the Beatles.
Yeah. I love Taylor Swift, by the way. I cannot say enough. Like, it's funny. Like, genre is almost like nothing to me. Like, I hear so many songs in each supposed genre that I relate to. While I have my favorites and my influences and this, like, the kind of bands that I tend to play with, like, you can gain so much from absorbing like a Taylor Swift song, June Cash Carter, like Carter Cash and Dolly Parton. Like, there's so many great songwriters out there and I'm still learning every day I meet them. I meet like rock moms too, like rock dads like you. Like I'm a big sponge.
Now, obviously, tonight, there's something happening. What's going on tonight?
Okay, tonight.
Where can we connect with you this evening?
100%. Tonight is my most exciting show yet with Trashing Violet. We are playing with our favorite band, Shame Penguin. Oh, you happen to be the lead singer of Trashing Violet, Shame Penguin, Komodo Dragon, who I've never seen yet. And we are opening for Change Today and Joe Wood and anybody who knows TSOL at the State House. Music starts at 7 p.m. 4 bands. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. This is the show you want to be at. And yeah, I don't know what else I can say other than like, if you want to feel alive again, if you want to feel that surge of energy, masculine, feminine, non-binary, and you want to be a part of something, be a part of the music, entrench in it in a really big space. Actually, the biggest space I've played in, I'm going to play in, knock on wood. This is where you want to be. State House tonight.
What have been some of your favorite performances?
Doors are open at 7. I believe we're going to be kicking off at about 7:30.
Oh yeah, I told everyone I was going on at 7:45. But actually, is that true? Like, I don't actually know what time.
You don't know. You're not. Come on. Komodo Dragon's going on. Komodo Dragon, I think, is going on at 7:30. And then I think you guys are going on at like 8:15.
Oh, sweet. Oh, I'm about to all the moms who say they have like soccer playoffs at 8:15. Because some of them are like, my kid has a game until 7 and I don't know if I can make it. But they're going to make it. I'm going to tell those soccer moms, get on the I-95, the Merritt Parkway, get yourself to New Haven.
Yeah.
Have your kids seen you perform?
It is going to be a part, like,
once or twice.
Once or twice?
They've seen me. I was at Fairfield Community Theater at this Connecticut's Got Talent show.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious because like I knew I wasn't going to win. It was obviously like the one who sounded like Taylor Swift with the like 4-octave range voice. But I went on anyway and I sung Eggs, Trashing Violet song, and my kids watched me and they're so funny. They're like, Mom, you repeat yourself a lot. I don't know if I like this song. And I was like, I wrote this song. Like that kind of like breaks my heart. They're like, yeah, can't you sing like another song? Like, can't you sing a Queen song? I'm like, I don't know, kids these days. But they see me and they're very sweet.
Well, I'm happy you introduced your kids to Queen. I'm happy you introduced your kids to Queen.
Oh yeah, Queen, the Chili Peppers. Like we have videos of them standing on the coffee table, like performing with like the bandana around their neck, shirts off, like Another One Bites the Dust. Amazing.
I'm not a parent, but that's a sign of good parenting right there.
Oh yeah. All breaks. Like there is no mommy and me music. Like I love kids bop a lot, but I just play the real stuff. And maybe that's good or bad. Like I let them hear the F-bombs and I don't know. Like I feel like they're gonna hear it anyways. I mean, I can Imagine Dragons and stuff like that too, but Queen is a necessity, and so is Zeppelin, Beatles. But also, I always play my women. I always play Blondie.
There you go.
Joan Jett.
Yeah.
You know, I try to make it equal.
There we go.
It's so true because we do that here as well. You know, we spin the record player at least one night a week, and whether it be us listening to Jonas, you know, or us or listening to the Dropkick Murphys, we try to sit there and do it as a family, and we'll talk about it. You know, we'll get involved in it. It gets crazy. I
also let my kids listen. Like my son loves Beethoven. Like he loves Bach. So my younger son. So we have classical music too. We have a bear that you squeeze that plays Beethoven songs. And instrumental stuff, all the stuff. And I want to try to get them into like, you know, other music too, like EDM, like jazz. Like there's so much good stuff. The blues. I'm glad you mentioned Janis Joplin. I know that's a big one for you. I have a cover side project called Hot Moms. I do with my friend Britta, and we cover me and Bobby McGee, and we do some other covers too. We cover Kylie Minogue's "Can't Get You Out of My Head," stuff like that. So they've heard that stuff too, and that's my acoustic side project.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, I'm so excited about tonight. I can't even like focus on anything else. Like I don't even know if I'm focusing on this interview or not.
Well, and here's the thing, and for those who really have any clue, the local bill alone for tonight is absolutely ridiculous. You know, Kimono Dragon, you guys, and us, that's a great bill. And then on top of that, you're throwing in Change Today, which if you have not listened to the new Change Today record, when we're done with this interview, go onto your Tidal, because they get paid more if you listen to it on Tidal. Go onto your Tidal and download the record and listen to it like 19 times.
Oh my God.
There, throw in eggs. Put eggs in there too.
Eggs, but make a mix. This is going to be the ideal mix if you work out, if you run, or if you just want to listen. Trauma Baby, the Change Today song. Oh my God. I listened to Trauma Baby like 10 times in a row before listening to the rest of the album. I would say, I don't know. I love like Live in Technicolor. Is it Live in Technicolor or Live in Technicolor? Live in Technicolor. It is Live in I always said Live, and then somebody corrected me and said Live. I was like, no, it's Live in Technicolor. Yeah. And Trashing Violet Eggs. Like those three songs start off your night. Sam Jackson, so good. Well, so good. I could go on and on. Unfortunately, they're pulling the Apollo curtain on us. We do have your song that we're going to be playing. Yay! But right now, I want you to tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, Rock Mommy, Trashing Violet, how they can see you, and how they can connect. Yes. Okay. Trashing Violet has a website, trashingviolet.com, but we are also on all the things. We're on Bandcamp. Google Trashing Violet Bandcamp. We are also on, Spotify, iTunes, though I would say iTunes or Bandcamp is probably good because if you want to hear Neil Young and then Trashing Violet. And I have a blog called Rock Mommy, and I interview rock and rollers who are also parents and occasional rockers who aren't. And that's how you find me on all the things, Trashing Violet, and then rockmommy.com is my blog. Nice.
Well, Marisa, thank you for being part of Behind the Brand. We do appreciate you. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Blues is in the building. And this has been Behind the Brand on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven.
You were nothing new, thought it through. Had your fill, laid me to waste. 8 a.m., I was on my way. Then you said, how do you like your eggs? What was this? You wanted to kiss. You wanted a piece of my broken bliss. Stay for tea, cuddle with me. We'll make coffee and omelette. 1, 2, 3, 4. He thinks he's so original. Making me out. He thinks he's so insightful. Making me out. He thinks he's the best man because he was out. Frying ham and he's just another cliche. Making me out. Had it sweet, couldn't be your time in my heart's defeat. I was in, you scrambled it, and you whipped my thickness.